Governor Inslee, I have to say it's a privilege to have you with us, because you're one of the people who has taken the leadership to say, all right, if the federal government is not doing something and the president is going in a certain direction, states will take it upon themselves. And you've been trying very hard to push a carbon tax, which we sincerely hope you'll be able to get through later this year. Could you tell us about some of the efforts that are being taken in the United States to make sure that those commitments are met in some way? The states are able to do what the central. Please, just keep sitting and talking. That's
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're afraid I'll go on forever. I noticed that. That's I can do that, by the way. Listen, I will answer that question, but first off, there's a challenge on the floor that has to be met. We have a great young leader from a younger generation from Bangladesh who has challenged 1 billion baby boomers to get off the dime and not leave a legacy of the destruction of this planet behind the age of Aquarius. And I want to tell you, on behalf of 1 billion baby boomers, I'm authorized to commit that we are not going to allow that to happen. And we are going to make sure we solve this problem. And I'm going to go back tomorrow to work on this, okay? And I'm serious about this. Look, I'm going back Monday. I'm going to meet my legislature. We need a carbon tax in my state. It will be the first carbon tax in the United States to create an investment pool to help these businesses develop. That is a common sense measure, but it is a moral responsibility. Now, I've come to Davos to just bring a dose of hope to this place. And I think there's 3 reasons we ought to have a big dose of hope. Number one, when the president arrives here today, do not be shocked if he looks around at 5 feet of snow and says, I guess there's no climate change, because look at all this snow. But I want to point out that since he announced that he wanted to take us out of Paris, and the vice president's right, we're not out yet, and we won't be till there's another president, we're going to have another shot at this. Not one single nation, state, province, or city has followed him. There is only one man in this parade, and no one has followed him in this regard. And this is great news, and we should celebrate it. Since he made this announcement, 3 Republican governors have joined what Governor Brown of California and I have started, the United States Climate Alliance. We have 15 states now, including 3 Republicans, who have committed to the Paris Accord, and we're all doing our best to make sure that happens. And by the way, this alliance is not a small thing. It represents 40% of the United States economy. 40% of the United States economy is in effect in the Paris Agreement and acting. We would be the 3rd largest economy in the world if we were a separate nation, and I'm not suggesting that at the moment. So the message in Davos is, we're here, we're not giving up. The United States Climate Alliance is still on the move. And the reason this is happening is because this is a tipping point, as the Vice President described. It's a tipping point where in the same week in Seattle, where the Cascade Mountains were on fire, and ash was falling on Seattle under the hoods of people's cars, and it's never happened before in the history of Seattle. People could see visually what is happening in their own lives. At the same time, we realized that we have the Western Hemisphere's largest manufacturer of carbon fiber that's going into electric cars. So this is a tipping point moment. That's why the politics is changing so dramatically in the United States. And the last thing I want to say, I'm so optimistic. We finally have Al Gore showing a little passion on this subject. So I'm very happy. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I appreciate your leadership.
Actually, Vice President Gore, if I could just ask you, taking off from that, the fact that you've been displaying so much passion on this subject, has it sometimes become a liberal versus conservative issue in the United States? Is that part of it, that certain people will say, we're going to be climate change deniers just because Al Gore feels strongly on the subject?
No, well,
or that liberals feel strongly on the subject. I mean, is that at all a possibility?
No, I don't think so at all. And in fact, there's been extensive social science research in the U.S. that definitively disproves that meme. You know, in my home state of Tennessee, there's an old saying that if you see a turtle on top of a fence post, you can be pretty sure it did not get there by itself. When you see the persistently high levels of climate denial in the United States, unique and among all nations, you can also be pretty sure that didn't happen by itself. The coal companies, coal-burning utilities, oil and gas companies, some of them, have spent hundreds of millions of dollars pursuing the same blueprint that was innovated by the tobacco companies decades ago when they were faced with an existential threat to their business. They hired actors and dressed them up as doctors and put them on television to falsely say, I'm a doctor and there are no health problems associated with smoking cigarettes. That's what they have been doing with a huge amount of money. They've created a major cottage industry of climate denial. But you know what? They're losing badly. The percentage of people, over two-thirds, who agree with the science and we have to do something has been steadily increasing. A majority of Republican voters, a plurality of Trump supporters agree with the science, agree that we have to do something. And there is a major new participant in this debate who is more persuasive even than Jay Inslee, and that's Mother Nature.
Right.
Because these climate-related extreme events, every night on the TV news is like a nature hike through the book of Revelation. People are connecting the dots on their own.
Right. Governor Inslee, are they connecting the dots? Or when you see a snowstorm, exactly what you said that President Trump might do when he gets out here, there are extreme snowstorms in the U.S. for the last month and a half. There were hurricane after hurricane coming in, in the last over the last summer. Are people in the United States connecting the dots and saying something seems to be happening to climate?
Now, a visual image in a person's life is 10,000 times more mind-changing than any graph ever invented. And that is going on. That's what I'm talking about. You mentioned this issue of Democrats and Republicans. We are starting to see the potential cracking of this wall in the Republican Party. And this is a very beneficial thing. And it's very interesting. 8 Republicans in California voted for Jerry Brown's cap-and-trade system. And I went and met them, and I asked them, why are they doing this? And the leader of the Senate said it was simple. Our party, we concluded, was going to go extinct if we didn't pull our heads out of the sand and had our tail feathers out in the air anymore and start to get involved in this solution. And why? It's because this generation that's coming up behind us is 99% in favor of doing something about this. So if you want to have a viable political party, you need to start engaged in the solution, and that's why it's starting to happen. And that's some of the best news about this issue right now.